Good morning, good morning. It's the start of a new week. I hope all you mothers had a fantastic day yesterday. Church acknowledged the day as it always does, and Father's Day will be next month. And they have a contest. They give a gift to the oldest mother in the church, to the youngest mother in the church, and to any mother that has the most children present on Mother's Day. Sister Julie always wins that last one I mentioned because she's had 6 kids, and she used to have all 6 at church, and they got older, and she had 3 there yesterday, so she won that prize. Sister Michaela is 19 years old. She's got a little one, so that made her the youngest mother. And then 2 sisters who are close to the same age. They both won a prize for the oldest mothers, about 85 years of age. Our church has mostly elderly people, but I'll tell you, some of those elderly people they're really, truly gems, They've got strong faith, they're good examples, they've got some pretty incredible stories they share with us. So, love your elderly people. Doesn't matter if they're saved or not, cherish them, love them, because, I'm 44 years old, but as people keep, passing on, going home to the Lord or whatever, the generations are closing down, and pretty soon it's going to be people like you and I, in our 40s and 50s. We're going to be the elders, or we're going to be the heads of the family, the older people, and that's kind of a scary thought. And I thank God I've got both of my parents. I have good parents. My father will be 75 this year, and Mom will be turning 70. So, their Mom's going to hit the big 7-0. So they're getting older. And sometimes my parents watch these videos. If they ever watch this, I'll never forget the time that I came back from Asia. I think it was 2014. I was in the Philippines and I came back. We went on a cruise. I went on it because my sister couldn't. She was pregnant at the time. So I went with my parents and my son on a cruise in the Caribbean. And it was nice. And I got stuffed full, probably gained 20 pounds. But I remember coming back with my father. He picks me up at the airport down in Toronto. And then we drive north. And I remember we stopped it's a small, it's not even a city, I'd call it maybe a big town. It's called Huntsville. It's in the Muskoka region. Many of you probably know where it is if you're Canadian. And I remember my father walking to the store, and I noticed how significantly slower he moved. For the first time, it's like I noticed he was getting older, and it was kind of sad. So, Pops, I know you're getting old, but you're still doing pretty good. He's out doing the wood every day in the field. He's splitting logs and sawing and doing all kinds of stuff. He keeps busy, and that's good. The older people need to keep busy. Keeps them out of trouble, keeps the mind working, the body in good shape, because I've seen those older people, and when they retire and they have nothing to do, they just die off because they subconsciously feel like they have no purpose. So I've got good parents. I'm very grateful for them that they pointed me to the Lord Jesus, raised me in a godly home. And I know that they support the work that I do, and I really appreciate that, as does my older sister. I'm pretty sure that my other siblings think that I've lost my mind. But I'm not out of my mind, I'm just out of theirs, as I like to say. This is June the 10th, in Trusting in God Devotional. It's called Here and Now to There and Then. We're going to reread Mark chapter 4, verses 1 through 9. It's the quick parable of the sower. And in verses 3 and 4, in this version, they say at the top, "Listen, a farmer went out to plant some seed. As he scattered it across his field, some of the seed fell on a footpath, and the birds came and ate it." Now, I do think that whenever I get the opportunity at our church to teach, I'll probably teach on that parable. We're going to dig down deep because there's a very strong spiritual lesson in there, especially for Christians who have not fully surrendered to the Lord. And when you don't fully surrender, you're going to get choked out by the things of the world. That's a very important lesson. But let's read it here. Mark chapter 4, verse 1. "Again he began to teach by the seaside. A large crowd was gathered before him, so that he entered a boat and sat in it on the sea. And the whole crowd was by the sea on the land. He taught them many things in parables, and said to them in his teaching, 'Listen and take note. A sower went out to sow. As he sowed, some seed fell beside the path, and the birds of the air came and devoured it. Now, transfer the word birds to Satan or to demons, because demons work for Satan. Some seed fell on rocky ground where it did not have much soil, and soon it sprang up because it did not have deep soil. But when the sun rose, it was scorched, and because it had no root, it withered away. Other seed fell among thorns, and the thorns grew up and choked it, and it yielded no grain. And other seed fell on good ground, and it yielded grain that sprang up and increased by 30, 60, or 100 times as much. Then he said to them, "He who has ears to hear, let him hear." We got 3 cats here, and they're very noisy. You can probably hear them back there. Okay, again, this is called Here and Now to There and Then. The author says, Jesus was sitting in a boat close to the shore where a crowd had gathered. Then he drew their attention to a farmer who was busy sowing on the other side of the lake, and immediately adapted his parable to this everyday occurrence. Yeah, that's probably what happened. Jesus probably saw a lot of people doing things, and he said, "Take a look," and then he gave a parable or a story. He's teaching the kingdom. He's taking complicated things and making them simple to understand. That's what a good teacher does. A farmer went out to plant seed. That's what he said. This is the essence of the parable method. Jesus started with the here and now to get to the there and then. He used something happening on earth to guide the thoughts of people heavenwards. He started with visible things that led to the invisible. He started with the simple things that even a child could understand. With this, Jesus showed that he believed in a connection between heaven and earth. He believed that people could see God in everyday life. Jesus didn't see this earth as a sad and lost place. He believed if you looked around you, you would see God. That's one way to look at it, even though we do know it is a sick and dying world, especially now. The essence of parables is that they were spontaneous and unprepared. They were created in the heat of the moment. Parables are not stories that came into being and were pondered in the study. They were born of the requirements of the moment. This brings us to the point that we must always remember in our efforts to interpret his parables. In the first instance, they should be heard and not read. Because Jesus wasn't reading to them, he was giving them a picture with his words. It is wrong to try and find a deeper meaning in every detail of a parable. Now, it's true, there are some people who take everything so deep that it has some other message, and sometimes it's just literal. Like, without getting into it too deeply, one person was trying to say that when the story of Joseph in Egypt, how they had to save food because of the famine, they were trying to say that the corn represented this and the years represented that. Just deep meanings for everything, and it was just silly. So we shouldn't do that. We should ask, what main thought flashes through our minds when we hear this story the first time? Well, I was so young when I first heard that story that I don't even remember. But there are a lot of adult people out there who are new believers, and maybe we could ask them sometime. Walter Hilton said, "I am nothing. I have nothing. I desire nothing but the love of Jesus in Jerusalem." Now, I don't know who that man was or why he said that, but at the bottom it says, "I kneel before your heavenly wisdom and worship, Lord Jesus." I like the parables. I understand most of them. Could I teach on them all? Maybe if I did a further study. But like I said about this devotional, it really hammers home, it digs deep in the same, we kind of camp out in the same place. And so you can read it again and again, maybe analyze it from different, views, aspects. So it's a good devotional. I don't know if you have this one. I have several devotionals by this author. And hopefully in the coming days, I'll have the time and the energy pushing through this allergy stuff. It's in my lungs. I'm trying to cough it out. Stay active. Don't let it settle there. It's not the C word. I don't have that, so thank God. Thank you guys for praying. Please share the videos around. Hope you're enjoying them. Do comment. If you're watching this, comment. Leave a comment. Just say, hey, so I can see your name, so I know you're watching. I guess there's a lot of people who don't want to be known. They just click on the video and watch. And that's fine, but I do appreciate the feedback. God bless you guys. Have a wonderful week. We'll see you in the next Trusting in God devotional.